A Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone. Welcome to another of our podcasts with fundraising managers who love to run. And today we are joined by Amber. So welcome, Amber. Tell us where you're located and give us a little bit of your running journey so far.
Hi everyone, my name's Amber. I am a sports events manager currently working at Young Lives versus Cancer. I am located in Brighton. I live in sunny Brighton. And so started my running journey, I would say properly back in 2017 when I signed up for my first half marathon with genuinely no running experience whatsoever.
What got you into it? Was it a sort of fitness thing or you've always fancied doing a half? What was the motivation?
That is a great question. So the year previous, I lost my nan to cancer, and she was looked after incredibly by a local hospice. And I really wanted to be able to give back and say thank you, but also was inspired by living in Brighton. I think I just so happened to be watching the half marathon that year. And I was like, do you know what? I'd love to be able to do that. Probably went in completely blind and naive with no running experience. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to challenge myself. I had a few friends that have ran half marathons before. So I thought I would sign up. I gave myself plenty of training time. Obviously, I knew it took quite a long time, especially as a beginner. So signed up for, Brighton half, probably with like 7-8 months training, so I had loads of time to kind of ease my way into it, I suppose.
Good, because that's often one of the problems, isn't it? People sign up and don't give themselves enough time, but you
No, exactly.
had plenty of time. What was it like on the day?
Oh, it was amazing. Because I was a complete beginner, I didn't have any time in mind or anything. I just wanted to take it all in, enjoy it. I had lived in Brighton before, but my training route, I was actually doing a year in industry while I was at uni. So I was living at home in Essex. So I was kind of training along Southend seafront. So a little bit kind of similar terrain. But I was able to take it all in and really enjoy the sights of Brighton despite being a student there. Just being able to, really enjoy it and not have the pressure, but just understand what running events was all about, really.
Good. And what happened after Brighton then? What was your next one?
So I did Brighton again a few years later. I ran with my partner for Rocking Horse charity, which is a local Brighton charity. It's a children's hospital. Again, wanted to choose a cause that was super important. We knew some family friends that had been looked after by the people at Rocking Horse, and they are kind of well promoted in Brighton as a charity to run for. So we took on a challenge post lockdown after I suppose, had more time to run. So my fitness had increased. I wanted to kind of challenge myself again and try and do it in a bit of a quicker time, which I did. And really enjoyed that. And also got to run with my partner as well, which was really fun.
So from Brighton to London then, when did you decide you were going to run London 26?
So that is a good question. I think I've always been inspired by marathon runners. Genuinely never thought I could do it. When I worked at Brighton Marathon back in 2020, so I was there for 3 years, I was so inspired by every single person that took on a marathon, whether that was a sub 3 hour runner to a 8 hour runner. I think these people are incredible. I remember the first thing that crossed my mind that first time I ran a half marathon was, oh my goodness, people that run marathon have to do that again. And I was thinking, oh, I could never do something like that. Like, who do I think I am? And when I worked at WWF, every single person in our team decided to enter the ballot. And I thought, you know what? What are the chances of me getting in? Fairly slim. We knew the odds was fairly slim. And so this was after the 2024 London Marathon, entered the ballot, found out in July 2024 that I had a place for the 2025 London Marathon, which is obviously, I was in shock, I think. And the reason it took me to 2026, had a few injuries that made me make this decision to defer. I obviously wanted to do it properly. I wanted to be able to train properly. So I deferred to 2026. So that's where that marathon journey began. I did think I was slightly insane when I bought that place and actually decided to do it. And I think even my family were a bit like, Amber, are you sure you want to do this? Because this is going to be hard. And I knew that. But I thought I wanted that next thing to try, and again, coming from the charity sector, I knew I wanted to make a difference and fundraise for charities. So I think that was another reason that kept me going through that tough training times.
Yeah, well, we don't get to talk to many people that got in through the ballot, so that's a very pleasant, a
Yeah,
very pleasant
I
change. But
know.
what's great, obviously, is that you decided you were going to fundraise as well, and everybody seems to fundraise pretty much, apart from
Mhm.
a few people at the front. But with that, obviously, comes the challenge of fundraising and training, sort of pretty much at the same time. Now,
Yeah.
when you've got your own entry, you haven't got to raise that minimum figure, which somebody with
Mhm.
a charity entry has to do.
Yeah.
How did you sort of position it in your head then? Were you thinking, right, I'm going to raise the same as someone who's got a charity entry and has to raise that amount, or did you think, I'll just see how I go?
Kind of a bit of both, really. So I know like charity places, obviously, particularly for London, are probably like that's probably the highest amount for that event, varied between probably 2,000 up to £3,000. I knew that is a lot of money. And I, as someone that had fundraised previously over the years, I think I was a bit concerned about, oh, I've run half marathons over the past few years. And I've also asked family and friends to donate. Once I decided that I wanted to run for Blood Cancer UK, it's a charity very close to my heart and I had a close connection to because my dad had been diagnosed with a type of blood cancer the year previous. So I knew I wanted to choose a charity that meant something to me. I then spoke to Blood Cancer, kind of told them what I was thinking, but I also got a charity place in the Royal Parks Half, which takes place in October, and that was kind of to help me kickstart my fundraising. But also, I spoke to Blood Cancer about merging my fundraising, so that would be obviously a certain amount of money that they wanted me to fundraise to take part in the royal parks. But also, I told them that I had my own place in London. So I kind of did a bit of a merged fundraising. And I hoped that would, in some ways, encourage more donations that the Royal Parks half was almost a warm up for my marathon, really.
So you started nice and early. How did you integrate the Royal Parks into your training schedule, or did you just sort of see the marathon as separate when it came to training?
Yeah, that is a really good question, actually. I think as someone that had done a few half marathons previously and someone that did run fairly regularly. I ran probably twice a week don't get me wrong, no more than 10K on average. So I think I already had that baseline of I know what I can run. So starting off the training for the half marathon, obviously I started that probably in the summer, so probably August time, gave myself maybe 8 to 10 weeks to do that, but I wasn't strict on myself. I wanted to obviously enjoy the process, but also enjoy my summer. And I had a big trip booked in October for literally the week after the Royal Park. So I kind of treated it as a bit of like get in shape for a nice for a nice holiday as well. But I did do a proper training plan for the half marathon, and then kind of gave myself a few weeks off after that, and then kind of I actually started my marathon training plan slightly earlier. So I did a 20-week plan instead of a 16-week plan. So I began my training officially for London Marathon in December, but already kind of knowing that I had that half marathon fitness in me from October. So that definitely helped me mentally, which is something that I've actually struggled with running mainly. It's more very mental for me running and having that kind of like mental barrier sometimes of thinking that you can't do it when you can do it. So for me, starting early was kind of for my mental side more than my physical side, because I think deep down I knew physically I probably had that baseline fitness.
Yeah, it's a great way of doing it
Mhm.
because, you've got to a point where you go into your marathon training knowing that you're halfway through already, even though you're
Yeah,
starting your training program technically from scratch, it's
yeah,
still
exactly.
nice knowing that you are halfway there. I think the mental side of running is like you said, is so important because a
Mm.
lot of people are on the start line on race day and it's the doubt that gets them, I
Oh,
think, as much as
100%.
anything. And it needn't be, but it is inevitably like that. Um,
Mhm.
How did the training go then over the winter then? Was it all on track? Did you have any issues, any injuries?
Yeah, I think, like any training block, there's always some niggles. I had a, tiny injury in January, which set me back a week. So I just had to take a week off. Thankfully, that was very early in my plan, so I wasn't too concerned. But I actually did pull my IT band in March, early March, and I was worrying big time at that point. But I went to see a physio, and the physio wasn't concerned. And she said to me, "You'll have maximum 2 weeks." I'd already had a week at this point by the time I saw the physio. And she kind of gave me a deep tissue massage and was like, "There's no permanent damage here. Give yourself another week to recover, and kind of you've already got that fitness. You'll be fine. Just carry on your training as normal, but kind of using just straight back in from where I." So I probably had about 6 weeks to go when I started training again after that injury. So it didn't go quite as smoothly as I'd hoped, but I was very grateful, one, that I did the 20-week plan, so I started earlier anyway, and also that I had that baseline fitness, but also that I was able to come straight back into the training without feeling like I was behind, which I think really, again, really helped me mentally and physically.
Yeah, I think you're a sort of poster child for the benefits of running before Christmas,
Yeah.
having that base level, and doing a 20-week plan. I think is
Mhm.
absolutely crucial because the 16-week plan gives you very little wriggle room at
Yeah.
all. You
I'm
have
so, yeah, grateful to my past self for making that decision because I was worried, yeah.
so everything was okay leading into the taper then, which is obviously a very strange period of time, isn't it? How did you feel during that?
Well, that's, yeah, it was the weirdest experience because I did my 20 miler, which was the longest run I did, 3 weeks out, pretty much to the day, which is very normal for particularly a beginner training plan. Obviously, I'm not that experienced, so I don't know if it, obviously every single training plan, especially if you're with an app or a through a trainer, for a PT, if you've got a designed like training plan for you, and then to have to kind of quite quickly reduce your mileage when your brain's telling you, "Well, no, you've got a marathon to run in 3 weeks' time. You shouldn't be going out for an 8-mile run. You need to go for a 22-mile run." It's very strange. The paranoia, I, like, got told about that. I was warned, and that hit me hard, have to say. And even going for, like, the week before the marathon, I did a 3-mile run on, like, 4 days before, and I felt like that was the hardest run I've ever been on in my life, and I was thinking, "How on earth am I supposed to run 26.2 miles in 4 days' time?"
So what was it like, the night before then? Tell us how you were feeling.
One of my best friends lives in London, so I was lucky enough that rather than book a hotel, I went and stayed at her house in North London. I was worrying, my brain was going wild. I had my brother come and stay with me in the day to keep my brain occupied. And then my partner came and stayed with me, obviously, the night before. I think I was worried trying to eat. My appetite was not there at all. Obviously, nerves, which I now know is like that anxious, nervous feeling, which again is very common. So I've been told. So trying to get your pasta, your carb load in, making sure you're eating enough, making sure you're drinking enough electrolytes. And then obviously trying to go to bed early-ish, but not too early, so your body's confused about why you're going to bed so early. Yeah, my brain was in a weird place, I have to say, and I can't where I was so anxious on the lead up, if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't really excited until I got to that start line. It was all nerves. I cried on the train on the way in the morning because I was so nervous, and I didn't, if it, like you said, that doubt, that I didn't believe that I could do this, even though I'd put in all that hard work and them weeks of training and getting up in them early mornings in that rain and that cold weather. Believing that self-doubt really kicked in hard until I crossed that start line, and it was kind of like I was in game mode. I was fixed that I'll just take each step as it comes, really. But yeah, it was a weird time and probably the most anxious I've ever felt in my life.
So race morning then,
Mhm.
it was still there before you
Oh,
actually
big
got there,
time for
right?
me, yeah. I think as a first time marathon runner, again, I think it's quite common. Like, I had some friends that were running it actually um that I actually met. Thankfully we were in the Red Start. We were one wave apart, so we actually met up and tried to calm each other down beforehand, which was really nice. I'm so grateful that I had her, because I probably would have been having a breakdown even in the start pen. But it kind of wasn't until I was literally queuing to start, like 10 minutes out, where it really kind of, I was like, stop panicking now. You're here. There's nothing, you're going to cross that finish line, whether you walk, crawl, hop,
Mm.
however you do this, you're going to do it. You've put in
Yeah.
that hard work. And then I think that's when maybe the self-doubt left a little bit when I started.
So give us your memories of the first half then, or just before you got to Tower Bridge. What do you remember about that stage of the race?
I had family and friends waiting for me at mile 9, which was really exciting. So I knew that that was so close to the halfway point as well. It was very warm that morning, and I was kind of focusing on making sure I wasn't dehydrated. And literally every water I was offered, there was people outside corner shops offering free water, which I took every water that I was given in that first half, because I was really worried about that dehydration and just being too warm. Like, I'm a bit of a fair weather runner. So if it's too hot in the summer, I go in the morning, or I go when it's cooler. So I was obviously slightly concerned about the heat, but actually you can't control that. But yeah, seeing family and friends at mile 9 was amazing, because that kind of gave me that little boost to be like, you're a third of the way through, you're through that kind of tough start, kind of finding your rhythm. I'd found my rhythm by that point, and also knowing that I was 4 miles away from Tower Bridge, and obviously I'd just passed Cutty Sark at mile 6, which was amazing. The atmosphere was electric. But I can't, to be honest, the whole route was electric from start to finish. I couldn't quite get over it, how many people actually come out and support, which I think does keep you going. But definitely seeing my family and friends at mile 9 was a big morale boost for me. And then obviously, and I know everyone says it, but hitting that corner and seeing Tower Bridge in the distance is
Unreal, isn't it?
an unreal moment I think I'll remember for the rest of my life. And yeah, it's incredible. And like hearing like all the cowbells and the charity cheer points is incredible. But actually being on it, and I didn't stop. I kind of slowed down and took a video of it, because I thought, wow, like, this is amazing. And obviously I might not be fortunate enough to be able to run London again. You never know. So I really wanted to take it all in. But yeah, Tower Bridge is phenomenal as people told me it was, for sure.
Yeah, it's quite overwhelming, isn't it? Because I think not only is it basically wall to wall charities, but you're very close to everybody, aren't you?
Being able to read and see all the signs, one, obviously the signs on the charity shirts, but also the signs of all the supporters and the spectators that are out there cheering on their family and friends, but also cheering on strangers. It's like such a heartwarming, like you said, it's really emotional. Like you said, overwhelmingly emotional, really, because there's obviously, now we know there was pretty much 60,000 people out there that day running for all these different amazing reasons, whether that was because they wanted to prove something to themselves, or whether they were doing it in memory of someone. There's like, it was incredible. But Tower Bridge is definitely a moment that I will remember for the rest of my life, for sure.
I don't think you realise, as someone who is clapping and cheering, how important that actually is to the runner. You just think, is this actually making a difference?
I would say I hit the wall, as it were, the so-called wall at mile 15, which was early. And so actually knowing I had family and friends scattered along the route, and like my family, for example, were just before mile 19, and I don't think, if I hadn't have seen them, I think I would have struggled on that like last push. But actually seeing them at between mile 18 and mile 19 gave me that kind of second wind, as it were,
Yeah.
to carry on to the end. And I think, again, the charity cheer points around Canary Wharf, because that was all a bit of a blur to me that bit, because I think that's where I was in my wall, in my trenches, as I called it. But actually having that, I saw again one of the Young Lives versus Cancer cheer points, and one of my friends was on it, and she screamed my name. And again, that was probably mile 17, 18, and that gave me, again, such a boost that you don't realise actually how much it does help, even if it keeps you going for an extra mile, or until you see the next person that, it makes such a difference.
So what was the last 2 or 3 miles like?
I called it the Tunnel of Doom, the Blackfriars Tunnel, which is at mile 24. I was warned about that, but didn't realise how morale destroying it was that you're so close, but you're so far. You can see Big Ben, and obviously everyone says, oh, when you pass Big Ben, you've got less than a mile to go, but it still felt so far away. Once you pass Big Ben and Houses of Parliament and you enter Birdcage Walk, this like euphoric feeling of, I kept saying to myself, oh my God, I'm actually going to do it. Because I think until that point, I still had some point like of self-doubt. And then knowing that you can see Buckingham Palace like in the distance and the end is near, I think that was when it hit me really hard that I've actually done this. I've actually managed to run a marathon. And like you said, when you turn, there's a video actually on TikTok where it's like an influencer. I didn't actually realize until my friend sent it to me. She was filming, and where it says 385 yards to go, I think she was Irish, and she was like, I don't know what a yard is. And I was like, girl, we have 400 meters left. And she was filming it, and she had like, I think like 100,000 views on this video, and had so many friends sending me going, Amber, you're in this girl's video. I'm glad actually someone caught it, because it is quite a nice moment to remember. You're at Buckingham Palace and you know that you're just about to complete the London Marathon. And like I said, for me, it was the first time I've ever done anything like that. And it was such a magical, overwhelming, bit of a blur moment. So again, like to have it on camera captured by this random girl on TikTok, I'm very grateful for, because that is something I think the Mao is some that only people that are fortunate enough to run the London Marathon will ever understand.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. It
Mm.
is overwhelmingly emotional on that stretch, and
That you've
uh,
done it. You've done
yeah,
what you thought was impossible. For me, what I thought was going to be impossible, that
yeah.
I've actually accomplished this really hard thing.
Now, obviously, most people are only ever going to get that opportunity by fundraising and
Mhm.
get themselves a charity entry. You got your own entry, but you still fundraise. What approach did you take to fundraising for this race?
Obviously, starting your fundraising page really early is super important. I think getting ahead of the game, letting people know and understanding your journey. Like for me, this was huge, running a marathon. I never ever thought, if you told myself 5 years ago, Amber, you're going to run the London Marathon in 2026, I would not have believed you. Like, this is such a big achievement. And I think being able to portray that story, but also like personal story, but also being able to portray why I've chosen this charity and why this charity is so important, and being able to explain where this fundraising goes and what difference it makes. I think also self-donating and showing you're serious was really important for me. So I did that. So when I started my fundraising page, I put money on the page myself to show people that I'm doing this thing. And I do want to fundraise. I'm serious about my fundraising, and I'd really appreciate if people could support me doing that. I think also taking like connecting it to my Strava, so proving to people that I was doing all these training runs. I was going out in the rain in these early mornings to get these miles in. Sharing that with an audience, like sharing it on social media was big for me to kind of get a wider audience. It also meant that my family and friends could share my journey. I think was super important. But also being able to like track that income and knowing when a good time is to donate. For example, obviously I was lucky enough to do the Royal Parks in October, um, which kind of got me, I would say, probably a third of my fundraising, even by that point, because it was like, guys, I'm doing this event as a warm up to the marathon. I'd really like encourage or really appreciate all the support I can get to help me get to that start line. I think that was a really big thing for me. It was like I wanted a reason to get to that start line by hook or by crook, like I've done this amazing thing. I'm doing it for an amazing cause. And I think just believing in yourself and believing in your fundraising and why you're doing it, choosing a charity that is important to you and one that you can be passionate about and you can drive that fundraising and really share your story and the reasons why you're taking part, and have your loved ones understand that as well.
So how much did you end up raising?
I think £1,500
Wow.
I raised for Blood Cancer UK, which I was, over the moon with that. And the charity was so grateful. I was lucky enough to go to their post-race celebration after, and I was talking, obviously, again, someone that works in the charity sector. I'm the charity manager for the London event for Blood Cancer UK. I've spoke to her a lot over the past year when I had to defer my place, for example. So we were talking about things, and obviously we were talking about own place fundraising, and she said she's so grateful for that fundraising because she knows that it's people off their own back that have got their own place and choosing to fundraise for something, for a cause that's really close to their heart. And actually being at that post-race celebration and seeing the other charity fundraisers and their reasons why, they had a wall there, which I'm sure a lot of these charities do, and we all wrote the reason why we're doing this challenge, why we took on the London Marathon. And that was really emotional. And I think being able to share that moment with them other charity runners was amazing as well, and being able to hug each other. There was actually a girl who was running for Blood Cancer UK that ran past me at mile 25, and she patted me on the back and she was like, "We've done it, we've done this amazing thing, and we're going to make such a difference to this charity." Which for me, that was really emotional. Even thinking about it now, it was actually quite an emotional moment to be like, we've actually done this really hard thing together and we're making a difference for this amazing charity.
Big question now, of course, is what's next? What's the next thing that's planned?
Good question. I did enter the ballot again. I can't believe I'm saying that because I never thought I would ever want to do a marathon again. But I think I definitely got FOMO and entered the ballot. Definitely going to have. I have ran since. I've run a few times since. Only 5Ks to keep, obviously, that endurance and that fitness going. I don't want to lose everything I worked really hard for. But no events at the moment in the near future. I feel like summer, I've got so many holidays and plans that I'm just going to kind of keep ticking, not back in my normal routine. But definitely, I reckon half marathons are on the agenda in the next probably 6 months. I feel like I've now learned that distance is it feels a lot more achievable for me now. Now I've done like the marathon training, going out and having to run several half marathons in your training block. I'm like, do you know what? I can sign up for a half marathon and do that. Even potentially some high rocks, that excites me as well. A bit of like trying something completely new, but that's still obviously got running in it. But watch this space because it's definitely not the end of my running journey for sure.
I suspect that there'll be another one or two.
Yeah, never say never.
Jenny, I really appreciate it, Amber.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.